Oh, yeah. Okay. Etymology is like the history of it, right?
Yeah.
All right. I got you.
Well, hello everyone. Once again, this is Let Your Words Count. My name is Ethan Merriweather. I'm here with Mike Wilson, Alexander Vaught, and James Cole. This is episode 9, and we're going over the word this time, confidence. And Mike.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give us the etymology. First, I got to learn how to say that word. The etymology of the word confidence. So the term confidence has been a part of the English language since the early 15th century. It originated from the Latin word confidentia, which means assurance or trust. This Latin term is derived from confidere, combining con, meaning with, and fidere, meaning to trust. Therefore, confidere translates directly to trust completely. In its earliest usage, the word confidence referred to the belief in the trustworthiness or capability of another person. It wasn't until the mid-15th century that the term began to describe an individual's self-assurance or reliance on their own abilities. That's saying a lot.
A whole lot.
Yeah, that was a mouthful. So we're going to spend a few minutes here just kind of breaking that word down. We're going to go over the meaning, and we're going to kind of just discuss our own interpretations and use cases for the word confidence.
So confidence, we have the meaning and definitions of confidence. General definition, everyone, is confidence refers to the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something. We'll just start off with that one right now just to get the ball rolling. All right. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
The feeling or belief. One more time. The feeling or belief.
Feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something. It often refers to a sense of assurance in one's abilities or qualities.
Okay. Yeah. That's where we get rest assured from.
Yeah. So confidence, I think, is something that it has to be earned. I don't think it's just an instant thing. If it's whether you trust in yourself, you trust in others, you trust in, I guess, systems, you trust in your environment, confidence has to be something that's built upon and not just, you're not just born and it's like, hey, I'm Mr. Confident over here. What are you talking about?
All right.
It's got to be something you kind of evolve into, I think. I mean, I don't know, man. Some people may be born confident. I don't know. But I think, like you were talking about earlier, Mike, I think it is imperative that your environment caters to or nurtures confidence. Like, say, if you have a seed of confidence, it needs to be nurtured. Or if it's not, then it's going to probably die or fade away. There's things that can break confidence. There's things that can tear down confidence. So I think confidence is definitely nurtured through environmental situations. And I think it's something that grows. I don't think it's just immediate all the time for everyone.
I agree with that. Were you getting ready to say something?
Oh, no. Well, I was just thinking what you read, and I was just still thinking about that. It says with trust.
With trust.
And so that's what I've been thinking on. And what I hear in that is a proven track record, if you will. Okay. Mm-hmm. But not always the case. Sometimes just positional. Going back to last podcast, we talked about that word for which we were talking about, authority. Sometimes you can have confidence in authority. Those are in charge. They know what they're doing, right? And they may not have a track record to prove it, but it's just your confidence in the fact that because they are in charge, therefore they know the way. Okay. So just as I was saying with trust, and as Alex said earlier, trust has to be earned. But sometimes we trust in systems and not necessarily in the person. And that's why sometimes we end up being disappointed when we find that those for which we thought because of the position they're in, therefore we should have confidence in what they do to make things okay. So I'm going to just start with that one.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about it too as well.
And plus, when you see people in authority, you automatically think, well, it took something for them to get here. So I guess I'm going to just trust that since they're here, they know what they're doing.
Right, so you can have a leap of faith trust, so to speak, or confidence, if you will.
Yeah.
And like I said, that goes to institutions. I remember telling my son as he was going through school, because I sensed early on that he felt like if I did what I'm supposed to do, I have, I'm going to use the word confidence now, that my teachers, my counselors, whoever would take care of me. Okay? And so he had a level of confidence in the system. And I think that's why I keep going back to that, as opposed to having confidence because there's been a track record that proves that, yes, you'd be a fool not to be confident because this person has proven themselves, or this system or this institution has proven itself. So confidence can it can be born based on experience, or it can be born based on just position. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I like that.
Do you think that either of those? Well, so that you mentioned a leap of faith, which could be considered a blind confidence in a way. Do you think that there's ever an instance where that's the appropriate type of confidence to have, or could that be argued that it's never really a good idea to have blind confidence? And I'm not saying I'm leaning one way or the other. I'd just like to have your take on it.
Wow, that's a deep question, because it goes to what are you having confidence in? And then therefore, should you have confidence? I'm thinking, for example, on the negative side, an older person, for example, they see someone show up at their door and they're wearing a uniform. So therefore, I have confidence that they're telling me the truth. They're coming in to check the water meter inside the house or the electrical panel, whatever the case may be. And many seniors have been taken advantage of because they had confidence in, going back to what I said earlier, the system.
Right.
If you're in a uniform, therefore, I can trust you. Okay? And then they have confidence in what they should not have confidence in. Okay? So I don't know if I'm answering your question, though.
Yeah, that does answer the question in a way. So I think where my mind goes when I think of blind confidence or a leap of faith, to use the phrase that you used, I think more along the lines of like a spiritual confidence.
Okay.
Confidence in the idea that regardless of what comes, I'm confident that things will be okay, or I'm confident that after the storm comes the sunshine, or after the night comes the dawn, that type of thing. So regardless of, okay, so I say that, and then I even think about the fact that the only way you can have that confidence is by experiencing storms before.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's still a track record.
Right.
So is there ever really a thing? I mean, I guess this is where we're going, where at least where my mind is taking it. Is there ever really a time when confidence can be truly blind? Because even in times where I think, in my mind, the ideas of a blind confidence or a leap of faith, I have to have had some
witnessing. You probably witnessed.
Yeah.
You may not have experienced it directly, but you definitely probably have witnessed something.
Yeah, exactly.
That said, well, if it worked for that guy,
exactly,
maybe it'll work for me.
Exactly.
Hopefully it'll work for me.
Yeah,
Like he got that job, I'm qualified, got the same qualifications. Hopefully I get the job.
Right.
But then life shows us that
Yeah.
that doesn't always.
Or I saw Prince with the leather pants, so I can do it too. I'm confident.
I'm confident. Right, I'm confident. Yeah.
Right.
You use the term spiritual.
Okay.
So with that, and I know we just made a distinction between whether we personally have had that experience. Testimonies come in. Okay, and what I mean by that is, because you hear people say sometimes, experience is the best teacher. And some agree and some don't agree, okay? We know, since we're taking this spiritual, at least for a period of time, God has his own track record, okay? And his track record is sure, whether we have knowledge of it or not. So for us to have blind faith or blind confidence, what we're saying is, even though I haven't experienced it myself, but because I've been told that this entity, if you will, that we refer to as God, has a proven track record, then because I have confidence in what I've been told, therefore, yes, to me, that fits into blind faith. But it's blind to me because I may not have had personal experience.
Right. Okay.
But, I mentioned the word testimonies before. We, at least in many of the churches, we used to have testimony service, right? But what we're talking about is people's experiences, okay? So, and to your point, well, go up there and they're handing out jobs. Go up there, maybe you can get one, right? And so you may go up there with confidence because someone else got one, and lo and behold, you didn't get one, okay? But the fact of the matter is, testimonies carry weight. And when those testimonies have been proven to be true, then therefore it gives us the right, if I can use that word, to have confidence that a positive outcome or the outcome that I'm looking for has more than a reasonable chance of coming to fruition.
I think I think confidence can look blind to the person outside of you simply because you don't know that person's ability. So sometimes I think people align their confidence with what they know that they can do internally. Like whether or not you had the experience, you look at a situation and you say to yourself, I'm confident that I could probably get that done. Even though I haven't had the experience. I know what I am capable of doing. I know my thought processes. I have things in place. I have the tools. I'm resourceful. So with all of that behind me, I'm confident that I can get that done. And I think that's another environmental thing that helps build confidence.
I agree with you. And then, but in my mind, that raises another question, because then when does that arrogance begin to border on, when does that confidence begin to border on arrogance? Because I can say, for instance, I read, and I've told y'all this before, I read Will Smith's autobiography, and what you just said brings to mind something that he said in his book. He said, as a rule, my entire life, when anybody asks me if I can do something or if I know how to do something, default answer is yes. Sure, absolutely. And if I don't know, I'll figure it out. But if I ask you, if we're 20,000 feet in the air and the pilot somehow has some sort of medical issue, and I ask Will Smith, hey, can you land us? And he just jumped, you know what I mean?
And he just slaps you.
Exactly. So my point is, at which point does that confidence begin to border on arrogance, and is there a way to kind of keep checks and balances within oneself so that we can navigate that without overstepping? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's imperative to just understand that you can fail. I think that's where it removes the possibility of arrogance.
You said you can?
Can.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's imperative. Like when you're confident, you have to always understand that there could be a fail point. There could be a possibility that you may not complete, or you may not know all the aspects of a thing. And I think that's where it cancels out arrogance. Because when you're arrogant, you're like, yeah, I can make this half-court shot.
Yeah, right.
And I've never
Give
done
it to
it
me,
before.
coach.
Yeah, give it to me. I'll make it. And then you fail, and you don't concede to failure. You like, give me another shot. That's arrogance because you didn't learn.
Right.
And I think when you're confident, you say, coach, just give me the opportunity. Give me the chance. I have some skills. I have some resources. I believe that I can get the job done. If I don't, if I don't complete this task, or if I do something that's unsatisfactory, I will learn from that. And then I'll do it good next time. That's confidence. All of that to me shapes confidence. And then you even grow from that. You build from that. But arrogance just simply says, I'm never going to learn this thing, man. I just want to always show up and make people believe that I know. But you never really learn that you are a human, you're part of the human condition, and you can fail. And I think that's where arrogance, it's really hard for people to digest. But I think, but again, when you're confident and you understand that you still can fail, it cancels out arrogance, in my opinion. So, yeah.
Very good.
I like that.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just said I like that.
Yeah, I really do like that, because I think the checks and balances are a very important aspect to the abilities and the qualities, like the definition says, right? Because if you have confidence or utilize confidence, is when you say faith and blind faith, right? one of the things that I started doing lately is if you don't understand the word faith, then you might want to choose another word to use to help you understand what faith really looks like in the output.
That means we got to do one of these on faith then, right?
Exactly. So actually it came up in the definition of confidence.
Okay.
Right.
Right.
And it's trust. Right. And if someone doesn't understand faith because faith seems too spiritual and out there and too churchy or whatnot, well, trust might be a better word for you to use to understand the process of a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, man, these words that we use, we utilize them like a shotgun, and we don't really understand the definitions, the meanings, and the impacts of what it does to us, psychologically wise, and spiritually wise, and from a physical standpoint as well. You know what I mean? Because if you really think about it, going back to your point about arrogance, I think that is phenomenal that someone can have enough nerve to say, hey, give me the ball, I'm going to shoot it. Oh, I'm going to make it. I'll make it. And they don't learn from that. I think the key is the learning aspect. The confidence builds by the experience, I think, sometimes, but not stagnation.
Right.
Stagnation and confidence don't work together.
Right.
It has to have output. Does that make sense? Like, in order for something to have confidence,
It has to have a result.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can't get on the court.
At least that's what I think. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I can't get on the court and just say I'm Steph Curry now. You know what I'm saying? Because when people will look at you like you're crazy because there's nothing that you've shown anyone, but you're arrogant enough to say that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that becomes where it looks foolish. You know, when we talk about blind faith, blind trust, things like that. Again, I think people evolve into that thought process simply because we don't know what people do in their free time. We don't know how people are studying, what they're consuming. And so some people emerge in the public and they're like, I'm confident that I can do this. I'm confident I can do that. Just because like for me personally, I'm confident I can do things like working on a car because I've done it. I can fix things on a car, right? I can't do it all though. So I'm not arrogant enough to say, yeah, I'll drop that transmission for you. And I'm not gonna be arrogant, but I will say that I'm confident enough to where certain things I can do, I can work on a car, But I think again, it becomes arrogant and just foolhardy to just walk in confidence or an air of confidence, and you really don't have anything to show for it. And I think many people fall into that trick bag, and they fool themselves, and that's where you have that false confidence. And I think that's problematic in society because you have people that get in positions, they lie and say, oh, yeah, I got these certifications, I have these degrees. And then they get the role and they're like, okay, now what do I do? So,
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
In making this personal, as you were talking, a couple of things came to my mind. Arrogance may be born out of a willingness to perform and then a visualization or imagination. In other words, you can see yourself being, like you said, like Steph Curry, right?
Yeah.
And so you have a willingness to do it, and then you imagine yourself being able to do it. I can see myself doing it.
Right.
So therefore, I have confidence.
Yeah.
But then that's a misuse of the word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not really confidence, to your point.
Right.
That's visualization and a willingness to do. Okay. As you were talking, I was thinking about my mother lives in an old house and there's a boiler, right? So I had to learn the difference between a furnace and a boiler, right? And the house is quite old. As a matter of fact, it's the house that I grew up in. And so she was having, yeah, it's that old. Thanks for calling me old. One of the pipes that's a return pipe that carries the hot water back to the boiler, because it was so old, rust, and it was starting to leak. Okay. She didn't have the money. I didn't have the money, and I know that's a big job to go have a plumber come in, shut it down, cut it, and okay,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and so I can't do that, and I know I can't do it, right?
Right.
But I knew that there was a need, okay, to fix the problem, because water was dripping, and so she's constantly having to go down and add water back because of the water that's being lost, right? I'm not a mechanic. Never claimed to be a mechanic. Yeah. But I knew that she needed the help. So I went down and I looked at it and I looked at it and I said, okay, I think I can do something to fix it. Okay, so what I did is I went to Lowe's, Home Depot, one of them, and I got one of these rubber
A boot.
boot. Thank you. Okay, with a metal clamp around it.
Hose clamp.
Okay, it was closed. But so what I did was I bought about 5 or 6 of them. Okay, but they were all already closed, right? And it was meant so you just slide it over and then tighten it up. But I needed to have it open and then close it, and I couldn't find any. So I got my saw and I cut it in half at the right point, right? And so then I took aluminum foil and wrapped it around the pipe for the heat. And then I cut each of them, opened it up, wrapped it around, and then used those same clamps. And I had to be careful not to tighten it so much that now I actually, started cracking the pipe. Lord bless, it's not leaking today.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Now, I had never done anything like that before, literally in my life.
Wow.
But in that case, I visualized it. I thought about it. I say, I think this could work.
Yeah.
And then I had confidence that it could work.
Yeah.
And because I knew that the actual operation was something that I knew that I could do, I can cut it and I can use a screwdriver to tighten it back up. That's easy, right?
Yeah.
So the hardest part was the visualizing. So I talked about visualizing in a negative way earlier.
Yeah.
But in this case, it was visualizing in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because things like that, I tried not to get in where now I'm over my head and now I have to call someone in to fix what I messed up, right?
Exactly.
And so I had confidence that as I saw it, I could do it. And there was no arrogance in it because I could see that it could be done and it's within my ability to do it. I didn't need all these tools, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So
So, but
Good example.
You're an engineer, right?
yeah.
I actually started out as an engineer, but then I didn't finish as an engineer.
Okay.
You have the mind though.
Yeah, yes.
So about that pipe though, is it up to code?
Yeah, what's the address? Let me send the inspector over there and make sure it's
That's right.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
He ready to fix everybody's pipe. I got it now.
That would be arrogance if I wouldn't do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
printed up business cards.
Right.
Yep.
All your boiler needs.
Yep. Professional plumber.
Yeah, that's interesting because you were talking about that, and that's kind of what I was saying about the experience that you had in that. Now the confidence. See, and let me take a step back. I'm sorry. I think that there's something that should keep every action in check.
Okay.
Like kind of going back to what Al was talking about, the arrogance, right? With confidence, there's a potential. The byproduct of confidence can be arrogance, right? The byproduct of that. Also, what keeps that in check? And I believe like wisdom and understanding. And knowledge of something, and that's I kind of think that you should have these back flushings of things in your mind to keep you at a point where you're honoring a certain behavior of not. I'm trying to find the right word.
Not taking it too far.
There you go.
I have an example.
There you go.
of that.
Go ahead.
After you're done, I have an example.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So for me, I draw pictures. I know how to draw portraits. But I'm confident that I can do it, but I'm never arrogant because I understand, and what keeps me in check is that what I see is not always what the client sees, right?
Interesting.
And so for me, I'm actually always worried when I'm done, hoping that they like the drawing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? No matter how many years people give you praise for a thing, in your mind, to keep you on the more humble side of things, you just always have to say that, and this is just from a creative mindset, your vision and what you saw it to be may not be in line with theirs. That's always that possibility.
Very good.
Now, thankfully for me, that really doesn't happen. But yet and still, the human side of me says, I don't take this gift for granted. I'm still, I still can have, have fail points. But I'm confident that the end result will be pleasurable for the end user. Now, what you said was very powerful, being able to see. And I tell my wife this, like,
Visualization.
the reason why I'm even able to draw, man, is because I can look at a thing and I can already see it finished. That's the only way I can complete it. If I can't see it, it's going to be a bad drawing. But I always tell my wife, I say, I know this is going to be good because I've sat and studied the subject, and I can see the finished product on the paper. Literally, I can. Mm-hmm. But if I can't see it, I can't complete it. So I love that you brought that up, because that, I think, is the overall arcing thing that we must realize when it comes to confidence. When you go for a job, you got to say to yourself, do I even see myself doing this day to day? Like, what's my day to day going to be? Is it knowing myself, knowing who I am, my behaviors, my tolerances, my back education, my experiences, is this for me? And I think that's how you understand how confident you're going to be in a task or in a function. But you're right. You always want to have that understanding about yourself, because a man's got to know his limits. One of my favorite videos online is when Carl Thomas did the Carl Lewis, the runner, did the national anthem. But the news reporters were cracking up, but he said, "Man's got to know his limits." It's always funny to me, and I live by that, because that is a fact, man. A man's got to. I'm not going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. Right. A man's got to know his limits, and so that's where. And that's not even arrogance. I don't think he actually thought he could sing. Yeah. I think he was just confident. That's still the worst national anthem literally ever. But I always laugh at the reporters because they're cracking up. They couldn't hold back and said a man's got to know his limits. And I live by that. I love it. I live by that.
Go back to the track.
Yeah, just stay on the track.
Yeah, you're the best at that.
Yeah, exactly. You stay in your lane.
So go back to the visualization. I thought that was powerful too, Al. What you talking about your art. I think that's awesome. And it's almost like kind of what I do with painting. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to a job, the number one thing is being honest.
Yeah.
Like what you said, though. Somewhere honesty failed.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's the truth.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the truth. But see, Brother Cole said he could see himself doing it. He wasn't lying to his mom. Like, he knew his ability. If it was something more major, he wouldn't have done it.
I would not have done it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have done it. So he knew his limit. He said, okay, I'll work within the confines of my limits with this. I'm not going to lie and say, because the thing is, you don't want to lie to your mom or to yourself. Yeah. You get in there, there's water everywhere. It's like, what do I do now?
Boiling water.
Boiling water. Oh, man.
Let's not forget.
Exactly. But he, as a man, he knew his limits, and you respect the confines of your abilities. I mean, that's
awesome.
That you don't have to really, you got nothing to prove to anybody, by just getting out there and putting yourself out there in a situation that's very serious, and saying, yeah, I'll give this a shot, trial and error. You can't do that. Some situations require expertise.
So I got a question for you. This is interesting. Do you believe that there are other words contained in the words that we use? Meaning.
Dual meaning, like a thesaurus type of situation?
Yeah. So you look at confidence. As you were talking about, everybody was thinking, you know what word popped in my head when I was thinking about confidence? Hope.
Okay.
So give me a statement where you replace confidence with the word hope. Because I don't want to get on the job and tell the manager, well, I hope I can do the job. Just hire me. We'll see. Well, so I don't know if it works.
Well, I can jump in on that.
Pardon me, doctor. How successful are these surgeries in general?
Well, we hope. Me and my team hope.
We have the highest of hopes.
No. Okay, let me.
Hey, they actually might say that.
Everybody, okay. So everybody online, just make sure I'm very clear.
No,
I wasn't saying it as a synonym.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Understood.
I wasn't using it.
Yeah.
I was thinking like no. I was using that confidence. The reason why is if it's misused.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Like if it's misused. So if a person says they have confidence in there, they approach it and say, well, I hope I'll be able to do this thing. You know what I'm saying? Properly, kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, like, the failure of confidence with the arrogance and the different things like that, and you don't really have the capabilities, you don't have the qualifications and different things like that to do it, will hope. And that's just a question. It wasn't saying a determination.
Understood.
It's just, can hope be like that byproduct?
Yeah.
Falsely.
Well, I think I see what you...
No, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I thought that was Al talking. I think I see what you mean. Okay. I think that hope can be contained within confidence. I think that...
falsely.
I mean, I think really. So, like, for instance, the confidence that you had when you visualized repairing a pipe, or the confidence that you have when you're sitting down to do a drawing, there's still hope there. Yeah. I hope that what I see in front of me is going to materialize the way that I think, the way that I see it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
I'm confident when I go to engage with a client that I'm going to have a pleasant conversation and maybe convert to, you know, doing a deal.
Yeah.
But there's hope there, you know. I hope that this person is not having a bad day. I hope that I don't stumble over my words and sound like a fool. I hope that I don't oversell. You know what I mean? Right. So there's hope along with it. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I think there's a very realistic portion of confidence that contains hope, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But you know, that being said, and this is why I love what we're doing now, and I love words, because you take the word hope in this case, but it has different understandings based on how it's used. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
So, for example, you're driving wherever and you see the billboards for the different lottos that are out there, right? Mm-hmm. And people go buy a ticket. They don't have assurance. They have hope.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That they're going to win some amount of money, right?
Right, exactly.
But we know out of Scripture, hope really is equal to assurance, okay? And so that's what I thought about when you use the word hope.
I see what you're saying.
Because,
I like that.
you know, hope thou in God, right? Hope maketh not ashamed because, you know, as the Scripture says out of Romans. So when we use the word hope on a spiritual level, it really means confidence. Because it's going to come to pass. And that's why you have, you know, going to the chapter of Hebrews where people, you know, they allowed themselves to die and they died in hope or assurance that the thing for which they're dying for now is going to come to pass, and they're not going to see it themselves, but they have confidence that it will take place. So much confidence that they give their life.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so someone else say, you're just wasting your life because you're dying. But no, but I have a hope. In this case, that hope was assurance or a confidence that, in this case, the promise of God is going to come to play or come to pass, even though I'm not going to see it in my lifetime.
So in your opinion, is confidence, is it imperative to have confidence in your spiritual walk? Is confidence a spiritual thing?
You have to have confidence because you're going to get that voice in your ear telling you you can't do it, telling you that not only can't do it, you're not supposed to do it. You're not able to do it. You know, why do you think that most of the time we visualize failure instead of expectation?
Wow.
Most of the time we do. You know, what's the saying? We wish for the best, but we prepare for the worst. Okay?
Yeah.
So we, unfortunately, if we're not careful, we have that mindset. Okay? And then that's where the negative use of the word hope comes in. I hope this bad thing doesn't happen to me, but I'm open to the fact that it's going to happen to me. Right? And that's not the mindset that we should have.
It's not a confident mindset.
It's not a confident mindset. But going back to something that was said earlier, what can hold back arrogance when we're talking about confidence? What came to my mind was humility. If we always remember that, yes, I accomplished this then, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen the same way each time.
Yeah.
And so I have to reel back confidence. You know, otherwise, you know, someone, church setting again, you know, the Lord may have used you and you spoke something and it came to pass. Now I got to hang up my shingle just like a doctor or lawyer and say, I'm a prophet now, right? Because it happened once, therefore I have confidence. No.
That's arrogance right there.
That's arrogance, yes.
Yeah. There you go.
And so that's why humility says if I'm used one time, then that's all it is. So having confidence that I can be used to do this, that, and the other, we should always have confidence, but it should be paired with humility, in my opinion.
I agree. I don't know how long you want to roll, but I kind of want to. Is it okay if we switch gears and talk about a different area of confidence? Because we've talked about confidence going outward, confidence in tasks and abilities and things like that. But we haven't really touched very much on the aspect of self-esteem that we would kind of relate to.
I was literally just sitting here thinking about that.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, seriously. Because ultimately, when I thought of this discussion, I thought of getting to that point.
Okay.
I think that's the most important discussion, and I think that would be helpful for people
I
that
do
struggle with self-esteem and as it relates to being confident
Yeah,
in one's
yeah.
own skin
Right.
and how we move.
Right.
So
Yeah.
That being said, and I think one of the conversation we had before we started recording, a lot of that can be affected by who you surround yourself with, to the point that you're making earlier. And I'm going to use the word, purposely use the word, our spirits intermingle with other spirits, right? And so that's why if someone is ill, for example, you don't want to. I mean, how many conversations have we been in where someone is ill and someone comes in supposedly to help them out and say, yeah, my brother died of that, and yeah, my auntie died of that, and so it's the wrong environment. Okay. We need to build our own selves up, and so we should be mindful that if I have an expectation that I'm going to get better, in the case of sickness, I need to surround myself with those who are of the same mindset and expectation that things are going to get better. Not just a natural hope, but an expectation that things. And so then how does that happen? How do I have assurance, going back to that word, that I can hold thoughts that will be beneficial and I will see them come to fruition? Because many of us, like, if I'm getting where you're coming from, we don't necessarily have that confidence in ourselves.
Right.
We don't see ourselves being able to accomplish. And if we're around people that aren't, then therefore we lower our expectations
Yes.
For ourselves.
for ourselves. Yeah.
Yes.
And so we should be mindful of that. But unfortunately, many of us aren't, or we may not have the boldness to step out from the crowd and say, well, yeah, I understand, but I'm not going to do that.
Or even the awareness that that's necessary for growth. You know what I mean?
yeah, awareness is powerful. That's good.
Yeah, because if you grow up in an environment where that's the norm, to be held under a certain ceiling, or limited because of the rhetoric that you're surrounded by, or the self-esteem of the other people that you're surrounded by, and things like that. If that's all you know, then there's a very real possibility that you'll never really realize that stepping away from that environment could change your entire life.
Man,
Yeah.
Stepping away from a
now you preaching, Doc.
Yes.
For real.
yeah, but pulling away from an environment or a social circle that keeps you limited in your thinking will inevitably lead you to places where you see things and experience things that are greater, that are bigger, that expand your mind to realize that the world is much, much bigger than most people would realize, and that you can be a actual part of it. You know what I mean?
right.
That's awesome.
You say that, and I was thinking, growing up, and I don't know if this was your experience as well, but growing up here in the inner city in Detroit, unless we as a group went to Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, we generally never left our neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
And I remember one of the older guys on our block, probably 6 or 7 years older than me, I remember him graduating from high school. He got a job with his father, worked at a glass plant somewhere. Next thing I know, he's not doing so well. He's got caught up on drugs and this, that, and the other. And I remember thinking to myself, that's not going to be me. Okay? I'm going to do better than that, because I thank the Lord for it. I recognize that if I just did what the norm was in my community. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only one, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one. But just based on what I saw, and I saw that many, after graduation, they just accepted the bare minimum, trying to find a job, and then, so on and so forth. And so when I found myself in the middle of the Indian Ocean, because I'm on a naval ship, I would reflect back to my
Yes.
days when I grew up and said, I never saw myself doing
Yes.
this.
Yes.
But because
yes.
I had and it was born out of necessity.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this.
And those experiences build your confidence.
I am a confident person because of that.
Yes.
And I say that without arrogance at all. But I just know that because of the experiences that I had and the things that I had to deal with, it builds up a confidence. And if you make sure you aren't arrogant in it at the same time, you can. I can see myself doing whatever, to your point, I can see myself doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go beyond, I don't do anything around the house, to my point I mentioned earlier, where if I get into it and now, like, I hate doing plumbing type of things. Because if it's not leaking now, I may put the fitting on right, I may put the faucet on right, but then there's a drip, 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 drip. And so I can put the faucet on, but I'm afraid that the fittings and everything, so I won't do it for that reason. But confidence in yourself based on your experience, but there has to be a boldness also of being bold to say, I'm going to step away from my environment. Because realizing that I can actually be a help to that very same environment as I return to that environment.
Yes.
And so some people may look at you as being cocky, but to me, it's not that at all. It's just knowing that there's a bigger world out there.
Yes.
And with my kids, because I was in the military and then with my company, they moved me at least once, because of that, they had experiences also. More than their cousins and their friends, because they were able to go here and then live there. So then they come back here to Detroit, but they've had experiences of living elsewhere as well. And so it builds up confidence in them not to be small-minded and thinking this is all that there is.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. I love
Combating the small mind.
that. Yeah.
Go ahead. One thing that I was thinking about was when you mentioned your experiences being the things that build your confidence. I thought about the fact that being in the middle of the Indian Ocean as a black man from Detroit meant that you had to embrace certain fears at some point. You had to learn how to swim. Okay, black people from Detroit. At some point, you had to learn how to swim. You know what I mean? I say that, kind of lightheartedly, but when we approach the things that we're afraid of or the things that make us uncomfortable, those are the things that once we conquer those things, that's what really is building that confidence. Going to a place that you've never been before, making friends that don't speak the same language as you as their first language is something that is a little bit uncomfortable. Going to places that that present certain levels of danger, to your point in the being in the military, presenting your drawings for sale for the first time is a thing. You have to overcome a certain level of fear. Right. And once you've embraced and realized that, okay, this particular fear is a part of who I am, but I'm going to embrace it and overcome it, or at least address it. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what really is, that's a confidence builder. It is. Because once you're on the other side of that hump, that fear doesn't belong. You know what I'm saying? That fear can't hurt me anymore.
It's lost.
It's gone. Yeah. And so that's where confidence starts to build. Every time I have this thing that I'm doing for myself right now, I'm seeking out things that make me uncomfortable. I just finished a book called Rejection Proof. And he talks about actively seeking out for 100 days in a row, actively seeking out things that made him uncomfortable. And those are the things that he used to put so many fears behind him and embrace that and build confidence. And so our confidence can really, really shine when we step out of what makes up what we're comfortable with. To your point about the people who lock themselves in their neighborhood or their community and never leave and never have any other experiences, it's not because they're not capable. It's because they're afraid. It's because they don't know. It's because it's the unknown. And it makes us uncomfortable. And if you've never been taught to shoot for the stars, you're never going to leave your comfort zone. And that's why we lack confidence in those, in those type of environments.
Once you've been expanded, there's no going back.
There's no going back.
Exactly.
It's like the Wizard of Oz. Once you've seen behind the curtain and you've seen the man doing this, the smoke and the mirrors don't make you afraid anymore.
No.
You're like, oh, don't calm down. He is just a guy. See that guy over there behind the curtain? You know what I mean?
The great eyes, the great and powerful.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Oz. That's Al over there. You don't see him with the thing.
Right.
Yeah. You about to say something?
I wanted to say that as I've grown and evolved, what I've learned about myself as it relates to confidence is simply you can't wallow in complacency, because I think that nurtures a lack of confidence. When you become complacent with who you are and just how you've done things, because it's comfortable, right? I mean, you become comfortable with who you are after a certain age. You're like, and I've heard people say, I can't cook, or, I can't do this, and it's like, did you even try? You might be the greatest chef that ever lived. But if you tell yourself, I can't cook, I can't do this. I'm like, no, I don't know. You think you know, but you don't even know.
You don't even know.
Because you didn't try. And I think for me, I just allowed myself, as time has gone on, is just kind of look at the different aspects of my life where I want to grow and do better and be consistent in that, and not be complacent with, well, this is just how I've been. Because once you do that, that can help aid in killing self-esteem and ultimately confidence, because you don't allow yourself to even have the conversation with yourself.
Wow.
You don't even give yourself the opportunity to say, hey, Mike, or, one of my favorite skits is on SNL with Stuart Smalley. And he look in the mirror and say, I'm good enough,
Right.
I'm smart enough, and
people
doggone
love
it,
me.
people like
People
me.
like me.
I always thought that was funny, but hey, as you get older, you're like,
You realize how valid that is.
maybe I need to
that
do that
exercise.
Yeah,
those
maybe
types of exercise.
Maybe I need to put on a V-neck sweater and look in the mirror. But it's a hilarious skit. But it actually is really true, because those daily affirmations, especially in the times we're in now, where if you feed yourself to a lot of negative things, you won't have anything to really feed your confidence.
That's right.
So if you
Very good.
If you give yourself some kind of daily affirmation and just say, because I've had to tell myself, like, you're gonna do this, this is gonna work out.
Yep.
It's gonna work out, no matter what, because you're gonna apply yourself and you're gonna actually be consistent with this until you finish it.
Yeah.
Don't become complacent, like, I met my limit. It's gotten too hard, man. I can only play 3 quarters. I can't do that 4th quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, once you do that, it's over. All the work that you put in, all the people you talked to, or all the studying you did, or all the thought processes and hurdles you had to jump through, you're going to allow yourself to stop at the 3rd quarter, at the end of the 3rd quarter, before you get into the 4th quarter.
Right.
Like, why would you do that?
You might as well not start it.
You may as well not have started. And so for me in my life, what I've learned is just don't allow yourself to become complacent, because I think complacency ultimately it's a breeding ground for a lack of confidence and low self-esteem, and just in certain areas in life. I've never been a person of low self-esteem or low confidence, but you look at certain aspects of your life that need nurturing. And then if you don't water those seeds, those flowers, you don't have a full garden.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You have a garden that's thriving, but you don't have a full garden. And you want that full garden of confidence, of self-assurance. So when you move, especially we as men, we as black men, as we move in society, nothing can stop us, because we know in our mind, no matter what age we're at, we're all of different ages, no matter what age you're at, you don't have to look at lack of experience or ageism or all these different things that tell us maybe we're not good enough. You don't have to look at that stuff, because you've already told yourself, like Stuart Smalley, that you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. I mean, you have to say that. I mean, as absurd as that seems, having those conversations with yourself, I think, aid in that area where you may not have had that when you needed it. Because a lot of people are waiting around, waiting for somebody to tell them they look good, or waiting for somebody to tell them that they can do it. That savior, that person may never come.
Yeah.
So you have to wake up and say to yourself, okay, I'm alive, I'm here. What am I going to do with the day?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 24 hours. What am I going to do?
Right.
So that's my 2 cents.
I know I've been talking a lot. I got one more thing I want to add, and it's directly related to what you just mentioned with the self affirmations and finding ways to speak positively about yourself, your situations, your relationships, and things like that. I think it's just as valuable to seek out your own cheering section. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the type of relationship that we have, we cheer each other on.
Always.
You know what I mean?
That's
Always.
true.
I know you're going to be successful in what you do. I know you're going to be successful in what you do.
Yeah.
I believe that, and we say that to one another, and so it's important that it comes not only from within but also from without, and that speaks specifically to curating your social circle, such like that you have that cheering section that's believing in you and pushing you to go further and pushing you past the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter when you get tired and you take a knee and things like that. You need somebody that'll come and grab you up and help you to limp the rest of the way home, because I know you can do it.
Yeah.
You might need a little bit of a kick in the pants, but I know you can do it. So come on and let's go. You have to have that within and without.
I agree. And I think it's imperative to allow yourself to get to know one another in that way, especially we as men. 'Cause, fellas, man, if we get in a room, we ain't going to really talk to each other.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I think it's imperative for us to sit down and hash it out and say, hey, man, what's your problem? What's going on? What's your struggles?
For sure.
Let's just talk about it. I'm not going to ever judge you. I'm not going to ever go back to anybody and talk about this stuff. But let's just kick it so that we can definitely help each other, hold each other accountable, have those hard discussions, because a lot of people want to have like surface talk, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you see what them Bulls did, it's like, dude, I don't want to talk about sports. I'm talking personally, I don't talk about sports. And sometimes people assume you would, but it's like, dude, I want to have some introspective, some meaningful conversations, especially in times where we don't really get to maybe come together as much as we would like. When we come together, let's make it count. And in what you just said, that's making it count. Like, how you doing with things? How's work? How you feeling lately? How do you feel about yourself? Like, I don't know why that's like a hard thing for fellas to do. Like, how do you feel about yourself, man? Like, do you like what you see? Do you like how you feel every day? Because as a little boy, we may have not gotten that. You see, a lot of little boys need that, man. Like when we're like 5, they're like, just go outside and play, man. Get out. I'm sick of seeing you. Get out of here. And it's like, no, he needs to be talked to and nurtured just like you nurturing the girl. You got to tell the little boy, come here, give me a hug, man. Don't tell him, don't be hugging me, man. Men don't hug. And then he grows up with this jaded perspective, and then he's got to court a lady, and then he's got to have the confidence to even approach a lady. It's like, where's he going to get that from? Nobody ever told him, like,
while he's still trying to learn affection and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. But nobody ever told him, this is how you talk to women, Johnny. Nobody ever said that, Right. And so he struggles with that confidence, and then the other confidence of like trying to go get a job or trying to speak to people in a way that is proper etiquette, using proper diction. You have to take the time with a little boy so then he grows, because that really aids in confidence, teaching them while they're young. And it ain't hard. You don't have to do it all 18 years that you have them. Just do it for a time, a season. Because, they're 3 or 4. Just talk to them like they're a normal person. No gaga Google and all that stuff. Like, literally just say, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Make them think. And then when they get about 10, 12, they're confident because you talk to them. You expose them to language and speech. And I think that's why a podcast like this is so important, because we're talking about words, language, speech. And I think that should not become a dying thing. Yes. It should not be like a lost art to know how to talk to somebody or write in cursive or speak to people with respect. Yeah. And look people in the eye and talk to them. I'm around people sometimes that they can't look you in the eye and speak. Right. It's just like, what's up, man? It's like, what's going on? Am I making you feel uncomfortable? Because, hey, a whole nother conversation is body language.
Yeah, that is.
Man, body language is crazy.
There's an element of confidence there, too.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't expect dudes to, like, intently look each other in the eye and talk, but it's more so like, we as men, in the way that we conduct ourselves, we have to, communicate with with our eyes. So, yeah, that's
very true.
But I love how what you just said. That's surrounding yourself with people that have your best interest in mind. You have their best interest in mind. It's paramount. Yeah. It is. And if you don't have that in the environment that you're in, you have to remove yourself from that. If you have people that don't know how to celebrate you, they look at your successes as a threat, or they look at it like, man, you trying to come up, man, you coming past me, man, you ain't come back, reach back to get me, tell me about the job. You got people that are like that.
Oh, yeah.
So you got the job. You going to get me in there? It's like, no, because first of all, you don't have the interest or the skills. People they want to hook up. And it's like, do you even want to be in this profession?
Right.
So,
that's very
I'm rambling now.
No, you're good, man. Yeah. I think, did you have something else?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I was just some key points. I think you made some very, very good key points and key takeaways that, our audience, if whoever tunes in and listen to, what is your self-esteem issues? If you have any self-esteem issues, any confidence issues, this is what we're here for. If you have any comments or anything that you would like to share, please put it in the comments. Because the words that we are using, these are build-ups. These are words that we're using that can build us up as humans, build our spirits up, build our minds up, so we can be an asset, not only in our immediate surroundings, but if we go travel to Germany, if we go to China, if we find ourselves in Africa, if we find ourselves in many, many parts of the world, we can
in a boardroom.
In a boardroom. I like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, because the whole idea of letting your words count is for us to establish a mindset, a character that we can have confidence wherever we are, and we can be an asset to someone's life. Not only to ourselves, but we can share that to someone and beyond, and that's what we want. So as far as the key takeaways, I love the visualization. I love the assurance. I love what Mike is talking about, the self-esteem, what Al was talking about. I think we need to really talk. I really don't think this is going to be the last time we'll have this
Right.
this
You mean
conversation.
specifically about confidence?
About confidence, yeah.
Yeah.
And even with the self-esteem, because remember, confidence branches off to many other things, right?
Yeah,
You know
there's
what I'm
a lot
saying?
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks for tuning in, everyone. Anyone have any last words?
The last thing I wanted to kind of just briefly go to is putting this into action. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because we can talk theoretically about confidence and what it might look like. But to your point, if someone is listening that has a deficiency or a perceived deficiency there, for me, I don't like having conversations where we can't figure out a way to apply
Resolution.
what we're talking about. Exactly. And so I just was thinking about some ways, just while you were talking, some ways that we can build confidence. Like we mentioned, exposure, approaching fears directly and realizing that overcoming those fears builds confidence by itself.
Right.
Another thing that I thought about when you were talking was understanding and learning how to communicate.
Yeah.
A person that can communicate effectively is a confident person.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't have one without the other. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Because, well, yeah, you can't have one without the other. And then also, like I said, taking stock of your own mindset, your own outlook. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Your own outlook on life. Taking stock, really sitting down and realizing whether or not I'm looking at life half full or glass half empty. That's going to make a difference in where my confidence lies.
Yeah. Right.
And then also, just to touch on it again, part of that has to do with the people that I surround myself with, the environments that I find myself in, the type of work environment, the type of play environments that I find myself in, all contribute in one way or another to whether my confidence goes up or whether it goes down. And so I think that being mindful and aware that confidence is as important as it really is, that'll start to inform or dictate the moves that I make in life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Understanding, not just saying I have confidence, so I'm going to do this, but if I do this, this will help to build my confidence.
Right. Beautiful.
Or destroy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So maintaining that awareness, I think, is really, really important because it's critical for just about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, my last thought would be that words are like water, man. Speak into your own life, positive affirmations. I mean, it's imperative, especially in those times where you may not feel like you have, someone to turn to, because there's people out there like that, where they don't feel like they have someone to turn to. Sometimes you just have to speak into your own life and understand that when you hear yourself say that, there's some accountability there. It's like, well, I told myself I was going to do this, so I'm actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And I want to prove to myself that I actually can get it done.
Yeah.
And I think
which builds confidence.
What builds confidence. And I think when you make it a practice, that even multiplies that confidence, but it all starts with definitely speaking into your own life, speaking life into your situations. Don't give yourself negative feedback. Don't focus on the fear of a thing. And don't ever tell yourself you can't do it. Know your limits, but never say, "Yeah, I can't do that. I'm not gonna make it." You know, it's people that literally talk like that,
terrible.
and then in some way they find their demise finds them because they, you know, they attracted it.
A self-fulfilled prophecy.
Exactly. And I think because I make a practice to just speak life into my situation. You know, in those quiet moments when no one else is around, you have to speak life into your situation. And I think a podcast like this is very necessary because it really talks about the power of words, the words that we choose, and how we want to articulate those things into our life and putting it to action.
Yes.
Because ultimately, words, you know, they're nothing if you don't put it to action. We're just all sitting around talking, you know.
Right.
You know, so that's my thing, is just really speaking life into your own situation and never letting anything creep in to cancel out what you said and what you spoke into your life.
Yeah, and realizing that failures will come. You're going to take an L every now and then. You're going to have a slip up or a trip up. And giving yourself grace allows you to maintain your confidence.
Exactly. And failure is not the final say, though.
Right.
Failure is just, it's a stepping stone. It's a character builder.
I agree with that.
It's not the final nail in the coffin. I mean, that's just, you know, we're a part of the human condition. So failure is just a part of that, you know, but don't ever let that be the final say.
I agree.
Like, well, I failed. Well, time to go.
It's an opportunity for improvement.
That's
right.
It's a lesson.
You got to look at it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's right.
All right, this is awesome. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We are signing off. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right? God bless you.